Hello, everybody, and welcome to John's Adventures. I have a very special guest with me today, Gigi. Hey
Hey.
there. Gigi has been with me on some of the videos and helped me with them. We're going to be talking about something I'm really interested in today, and I'm looking forward to this interview. Alaska, the
That's
land
right.
of unlimited adventure and unparalleled beauty,
That is
and a
right.
lot of other things.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Gigi just spent 6 months in Alaska.
hmm
And if you guys have always wondered what it's really like to live in Alaska, she's going to tell us, right?
That is
Because
right.
she has done it. And so I guess we'll start out by turning it over to Gigi. And you can tell us about, you were there 3 months and then you took a break,
hmm Came
came
home for
home
2 weeks.
2 weeks and went back for
Yep.
3 more months.
hmm
Okay, so let's talk about the first time because you've never been there before.
Never ever. Never even thought about it.
Okay, well that's even better.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was an opportunity that just fell into my lap.
what brought Gigi to Alaska? She's a traveling nurse,
hmm
and so she gets to go to a lot of exciting, adventurous places, and better yet, get paid for
Yeah.
it.
And that going to Alaska was only my second travel assignment, so I was very fortunate.
You were.
hmm
There's only one thing I wish I could have went with you. I would love to go to Alaska and experience what she did. So tell us about you. You flew out of Raleigh
That's right.
and you flew to Seattle,
hmm
and then from there you flew to Anchorage.
Yes.
Okay, and then that's when it got fun. You took one of
Yeah.
those.
I left Raleigh on a 4 p.m. Flight, which I was very grateful for, so I didn't have to try to get there early in the morning. And flew to Seattle, then flew into Anchorage, and my company actually put me up overnight in a very nice hotel. Because let's see, I got to Anchorage probably about 11 p.m. and it was still daylight. So slept overnight there, and the next morning I flew into Kotzebue, which is another 500 miles from Anchorage, up in the Arctic Circle. And there you have to fly into Kotzebue because there are no roads. You can't drive.
So there's three ways to get there. You either take a plane, a ship, or you walk.
Well, as I was there, I hadn't heard about anybody walking there. I can't say for certain it's not been done,
No, I wouldn't do
but
it. But in other words, that's a plane or a ship. That's how
yeah,
you get there.
the most common way is a plane.
And it's called Kotzebue. Did I say that?
Kotzebue.
That's
It's a Inupiaq name. Um, it is the job I was doing there was with the Indian Health Service, the IHS, and it is a very small village. It's about 3,000 people. It's actually the hub of that area. There are about a dozen other villages around Kotzebue, but Kotzebue is the biggest one. There's Buckland, Deering. Some of the villages are only about 150 people. And I was fortunate enough to be able to visit some of them while I was there.
okay. And your job was the job of the clinic was to treat them if they could. If they couldn't, they would evaluate their condition, and then
Mm-hmm.
they could send them to Anchorage for further treatment
Right.
if they needed it.
Yes.
Okay. And that so tell me about your first impression when you left Seattle and you went to Anchorage. Of course, that's nothing. It's beautiful, but really, when you started seeing really the real Alaska, when you left Anchorage and you headed for Kosovo,
Yeah.
what was
It
your
was
first impression?
just gorgeous. The flight from Anchorage to Kotzebue, you fly over the mountains, the snow-covered mountains, and each flight that I took, of course, I'm a tourist, so I'm taking pictures outside the window. And each time that I did, your phone will put your location of where you're taking the pictures. I think Palmer, Alaska is the one that we flew over, and I always got some really great pictures of those remote snow-covered mountains, just absolutely gorgeous.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of mountains in Alaska.
Mm-hmm. And flying into Kotzebue, it was beautiful, surrounded by the sea. It's covered, not covered, but surrounded on three sides by water. It's almost an island, but not really.
Yes. So what sea was that?
The Baltic
Baltic
Sea.
Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's the sea that runs between Alaska and Russia.
Yes.
And so that is interesting because we were talking about that earlier. How far was Russia from Kosovo?
About 50 nautical miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Could you see Russia on a clear day?
No.
You couldn't?
I couldn't.
You have to have pretty good eyes to see 50 miles.
Not even with my glasses.
Oh, honey, I can't even see 50 feet.
I mean, I'm certain some of the pilots see it, but I did not.
But
I have heard that, like if the water was completely frozen over, like you could walk or take a dog sled over there, I guess.
that's interesting.
But you might get in a little trouble.
So part of your work there, you had your own living quarters,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a cafeteria.
Yeah.
And okay.
I worked at Manilik Health Center. It's part of, like I said, the IHS, the Indian Health System. It's a small hospital that also has a self-contained outpatient clinic. But for any specialties, surgeries, major orthopedic injuries, those are all flown to Anchorage, and sometimes from Anchorage they send them on to Seattle or other areas. But the job I was doing was case management, and a lot of that involved arranging referrals, travel, and lodging for the many people in Kotzebue and the surrounding villages that needed something that couldn't be provided at Manilik.
I see. And we were talking earlier about when you arrived there, it was like 20 something hours of daylight.
Oh yeah. When I arrived there, I was really shocked that my first shock was coming into Anchorage and it being around 11 p.m. And because traveling to and from Kotzebue takes essentially a whole day, like about 23 hours, including plane changes and small layovers. I was pretty fortunate in my flights. But 11 p.m. and it was daylight. Felt like a little kid, stay up all night. But taking pictures there at 10, 11 p.m. and seeing the sun still up, being able to walk down to the water and see the sun still over the water. It was kind of amazing. It was a little bit difficult to sleep with that. The room I was in, it's right behind Manilik Health Center, and it had shades, and I used a sleep mask. But that wasn't quite enough, so my mom had sent me some tin foil, so at one point I put the tin foil up in the window, which I had seen other people had done too, but I felt kind of claustrophobic, so I ended up cutting a small square out of the tin foil so I could still have some light, but that kind of defeated the purpose. Now, Amazon, there's no such thing as 2-day delivery to that area, but I did say to myself, you just really need to bite the bullet and get some blackout curtains. So I did, and that was very helpful.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I used to be a truck driver, and I drove all night. Had to sleep in daytime,
Mm-hmm.
and I discovered pretty quickly that you had to have it dark.
Mm-hmm.
In there. It took a while, but I got my windows blacked out too finally,
Mm-hmm.
and made it much easier to sleep.
Yeah, and I think people in the area, well, I don't think, I was told people in the area typically stay up later at night during the spring and summer because of the light. And so, in making phone calls, which was a lot of my job, um, they would tell me I would get to work like at 8 o'clock, and they were like, "Don't start making calls at 8 o'clock. You're going to have more success if you call after lunch, like 1 or 2 p.m., because people do sleep later there because of the light and being able to stay up later."
So that was the first adjustment that you had to you had to deal with being able to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us about the first few days. Did you go right to work, or did you have some time to get adjusted to it?
No, I went straight to work.
No fooling around.
No, they picked me up at the little airport there. That does a great job. But they picked me up and they gave me. I didn't have a car when I was there, so I walked everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But the person that picked me up, when she took me to the clinic, she gave me some cab vouchers to go to the different outlying buildings to get all set up, to be on the computer and get my badge and things like that. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is so funny because it's just a small village, and it's like a mile either way from the clinic. And so I saved the cab vouchers and I walked over to the buildings, Plus I wanted to get acclimated to the area. It's very walkable. It gets a little harder when the snow and ice comes, but when I got there it was spring, so there was still snow on the ground, but not completely covered.
And the ocean was still iced over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it was still.
It was starting to melt.
I see. So, what did you do with your time off? What kind of entertainment? What kind of activities were there to do there?
Yeah, there's it's such a small village. There's not like a bowling alley or a skating rink or anything like that. I was actually surprised there wasn't even a bar, and I'm not a big drinker, but I thought, maybe go to the bar, have a drink, talk to locals and stuff like that, but they don't have bars. They do have, it's like our ABC store here in North Carolina where you go, it's the only place you can go to get alcohol. But in order to get alcohol, you have to not only show your ID, but you have to be background checked and get a permit. And there's a limit to how many times you can go per day and how much you can buy, because alcohol is a problem there. Kotzebue does sell alcohol only at that one place, only if you have a permit that you have to pay for and be background checked for. The surrounding villages do not sell alcohol. So that makes Kotzebue a popular place. So there is, you could drink if you wanted to. I did several times, but that wasn't my main thing. I did participate in a Kotzebue cleanup day where I went to the town hall and kids were given trash bags and they went around Kotzebue and picked up trash, and when they turned in their bag of trash they would get $1. And so I was at the table to give the kids out their dollars, and they would also get a raffle ticket, and later on, once the cleanup was...
Okay, Karen, tell us more about your time off, your entertainment, your recreation. We talked about the alcohol, and what did you do when you were off?
Yeah, we were talking about the Kotzebue cleanup, and also they had, the Lions Club has a raffle that I went and watched after. It's like a bike rodeo where all the kids who cleaned up and brought their bags of trash got raffle tickets, and they must have had at least 50 bikes out there that they raffled off to the kids, so that was real fun. And I participated in a run actually we walked. It was a 5K to raise money for a young girl in Kotzebue who wasn't well, and I participated in the 4th of July parade. There are a lot of four-wheelers in Kotzebue, And so I rode on the back of one of my friends in the 4th of July parade, and they had a 4th of July fair, and I participated with a nursing group in decorating one of the crates there, and we actually won a prize.
Oh, wonderful. So, some obvious questions. Could you see the mountains from Kotzebue?
Yeah, across the water, you can see mountains, and the locals, the natives, they call it camp. And what they'll do is when the late spring, early summer comes, they'll go off over to camp, and it's for what they call subsistence.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they go over there, they have minimalist cabins, and the whole family goes over there, and they are trying to get whales. Like one of the girls I worked with, her family got a couple of beluga whales, and so they get them and then they process them, and so they'll have them in the winter when they're not able to get to camp, and they'll be able to survive.
I understand. So, I assume since you're on the ocean, fishing, hunting is a big thing.
Oh yeah. Besides the natives who live there, and people like me, like travelers that work there, a lot of the people that come there are going to hunt and fish. That's what you'll see coming through the airport.
So you experienced the summer there. Did you experience on your second trip to Alaska? Were you there during the total darkness period, the winter?
Yeah, nearly total darkness. That's one of the reasons I wanted to go back a second time. Number one, because I had made friends and I really enjoyed my work. But there were some things that I hadn't seen in the spring and summer. So I wanted to, because I had seen the ice break up, I wanted to to be able to observe the sea turn back to ice. I wanted to see the Aurora Borealis. And what was the question?
Oh, well, just tell us about the Aurora.
Oh yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. I saw it, it was in the early morning hours, and I had not been able to sleep. So I went out and took a little walk over to one of the local cafes that's open till 2 a.m. But with my luck, they had closed early. But it was really lucky because when I turned around to walk back to my room, I saw the most beautiful lights covering the whole sky. It was like they were moving and changing colors and telling a story, I felt like. And so it was totally quiet. There wasn't another person around. I couldn't hear anything moving. And I just stood under the sky and watched the Aurora Borealis unfold for me.
That's good therapy.
Yeah. It was magical, truly magical.
I've never seen the Northern Lights, but you can actually see them in parts of the United States. I mean, parts of the lower 48.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, yeah. I've never seen them anywhere. Of course, you're not going to see them in North Carolina.
Yeah.
We don't see stuff like that. So tell us about the summertime. The summer you were there with in the what's considered a summer, and how warm did it get? What's the warmest temperatures you experienced?
Probably like today in North Carolina.
Well, this is winter.
That's spring and summer in Alaska.
No, this is winter.
60s, 70s. All except one day. The one day that I did the 5K was the only day I went outside without a jacket on. So it was pleasant. It wasn't oppressive or humid. They do have a lot of mosquitoes up there. Their mosquitoes, I'm not even kidding. They are huge.
I heard they had world-class mosquitoes.
They have world-class mosquitoes. And they ask you when you go out to go for a walk, because I would walk up what they call Cemetery Hill to get some exercise after work during the spring and summer. And they would say, "You got your mosquito dope?" And I was like, "What?" And that's what they call the off. that you spray on, and that is a necessity for sure.
I hear you. I've heard about mosquitoes there, and I don't want to experience the mosquitoes. Oh my goodness. And that is really weird because you're getting eat up by mosquitoes, but then the ocean's froze over. You have ice.
Yeah.
And it's really a contrast.
Yeah, the mosquitoes come after the ice breaks up. Yeah.
They'll be there though, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is amazing. And so you're 6 months there. You got to experience what it's like to live in Alaska. Not some of the stuff that tourists. You was in a remote touristy. I mean, you was in a remote village, about as far north as you could get. And that is really amazing because Alaska is so big that it depends, I guess, on what part you're in. You was past the Arctic Circle, of course.
In the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, and it depends on what part you're in as to what you're going to experience. But it's so much to see, so much adventure there.
Yeah.
And I'm
it
looking.
was exceptional.
That's on my bucket list for 24. And if I don't do anything else, I would like to go to Alaska.
Yeah.
And not like you did, not live there 6 months, but just to be there, to experience the Alaskan experience.
Yeah. Kotzebue is an exceptional experience because it's not your traditional, what you see on the commercials kind of thing. It's like nitty gritty. And it kind of showed me like how you really rely on other people,
For your survival.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's about. When you're up there in a small villages, it's about survival.
Yeah, and that village, Kotzebue, there are no chain stores. Well, there is what they call the AC store, which is a grocery store, but there's no McDonald's, no Walmart, nothing like that. Just small mom and pop restaurants, a couple of them. But the prices.
Yeah, tell us about the prices in the grocery store.
The prices for groceries are very, very high. The prices that people here now are complaining about for eggs, that's what I was paying. I would have paid if I bought eggs, but and I saw the prices going up, and sometimes there were shortages of things on the grocery shelves. You could walk in and see the bread empty or the milk empty. But my mom did send me about 20 or more care packages while I was there to help offset the cost. But it was enough to make me be brave enough to ask for a raise to come back for a second 3 months, to offset that grocery cost.
And you have an interesting story about an animal that got loose in town and terrorized everybody.
Yeah, it's if animals would come near the clinic, they would announce it overhead. And, they would say like, foxes are near the clinic. Don't go out there and try to pet them. And I did see one morning when I woke up early and went outside, I did see some foxes playing, and I took a little video of them. But the biggest excitement came from the muskox that got into the village near the clinic. And they announced it overhead inside the hospital and Manila Health Center. And so, of course, everybody dropped what they were doing and ran to the windows. The backside of the clinic, the cafeteria is pretty much all windows. And so everybody ran out there to look, and the law enforcement and the game people were all trying to herd the muskox out of town. And they, because Facebook is a big thing there, following Facebook and Facebook Live, keeping in contact with their community. And so they herded him out of town, and my friends there and coworkers were showing that they had herded it out of town. So I went to lunch. I figured it's safe to go out. And so actually, I tried to go outside and get closer, but the game people came on their megaphone and said, please re-enter the building. But so once I had heard it was out of town, I walk back to my room for lunch, and all of a sudden I'm on the porch and getting ready to open the door, and on either side of the building come all this noise and sirens and horns, and I turned around and backed up against the wall, and that muskox came around right in front of me, and they surrounded him and herded him back off. But of course, I thought quick enough to stay up against the wall, but also take a little video for my TikTok channel, which is, if you want to check it out, it's GGGIGI_OG100, and you can see the muskox.
Absolutely. So the whole town was put on hold by a little muskrat.
It wasn't that little.
Now, what do those things look like?
The best I could describe it as maybe like a buffalo.
Buffalo, like a small buffalo?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Oh my God. Okay.
But they do eat the muskox, which is what ended up happening with this one, is that they did, because they couldn't get him out of town and they feared damage, they ended up having to put him down. And
so he didn't want to leave town. Two last questions. Would you go back?
Absolutely, in a heartbeat.
Okay. And in your future travels and adventures as a traveling nurse, where are some of the places you might like to go?
Oh, so many. My next adventure is going to be NOLA, or New Orleans. I leave there. I drive out of North Carolina on Friday, and I'll be there for 3 months. But some other places that are on my mind are San Antonio, Texas, and also Massachusetts. Something about Massachusetts.
I see. I hope you get to go to all of them.
Thank you.
And if you're interested in Alaska, I hope you've learned something about it. I have. And if it's on your bucket list like it is mine, I hope you have a chance to go and have the Alaskan experience. I'm looking forward to it. Don't think I'll make it this year, but next year is definitely on my list. Thanks for watching our video. Thank you, Gigi.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We learned so much about Alaska.
Yeah.
And
I feel like I could talk another 3 hours about it.
Well, I imagine we could. but I'm ready to go.
Yep.
Anyways,
get your North Face jacket and your snow cleats and head on out.
Yeah, shout out to all my new subscribers. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next adventure.
Bye.